So it was a very interesting process. We looked at how easy it was in layman's terms to sign up for these email lists, the provenance of the data, right? That pretty much means how much was collected, how it was collected, and lastly, the follow-up journey. What happened after we hit that call to action button. So, we're going to, let's just go ahead and dive into it. So, slide here. So, the first component of the forms, or the sign-up process, rather, that we analyzed was the placement of the sign-up forms on the website, right? Like, we know the cost of acquiring a new customer is much higher than maintaining one. So, like I said, we're looking at top of funnel. So we're looking at efforts that are not as maybe ROI efficient. So it's very important to look at how larger retailers are optimizing that process. So, we have to make sure that in our acquisition marketing, that that we can see the sign-up form and it's visible on the website. So some of these were easy to find, some of them were hard to find, but either way, I'm going to go ahead and hand off to Kate here to kind of to dig into that a little bit.
Fabulous. Thank you. So this is our first statistic to bring to you. And we've got in a lot of these the breakdown between what happened in the UK retailers versus the US retailers. And in some cases, we're talking to you about the overall experience that we had. So as Brian said, when you're looking at your acquisition marketing, we need to think about how you're driving people through to your website and then how you're optimizing what they then go and do. Now, the first thing that we often think about there is, how do we get them to buy from us? But there is such a large portion of people who will come onto your website, they will have a quick look, and then they will leave again without doing anything. And most people, when they're in that browsing stage, I'm going to talk you through some of the stages of the customer journey in just a minute. When they're in that browsing stage, they're not ready to buy yet. Most people who come onto your website aren't going to be ready to buy. So we need that mechanism to capture them and then allow you to educate them, nurture them, and build that relationship as you go on. Now, on any website, there are multiple different places that you could have your sign-up forms. And what you can see on the screen is the most prominent sign-ups that we saw on the majority of websites. And by far, the most prominent was the footer area, which for me is almost a little bit worrying that we are hiding our email opt-ins in our email footer, in our website footers. We're pushing it down to the bottom of the page. We have to think about how we build that use case internally and how we put that to our different teams within our organization to get real estate on the website and allow us to actually gain that email opt-in so that we can educate and nurture and build that relationship, as I mentioned. Now, we also saw people having an opt-in in some cases, not in the UK, but in the US, on content pages. So when you dig down into the website a little bit more, perhaps product pages, perhaps product category pages, having that opt-in on there as well. 3 different types of pop-up that we saw, and I'm going to talk about those in just a moment. And then those that had a dedicated sign-up page. So perhaps coming from a click in a menu item saying sign up for our newsletter, or some other way to access a specific page that then allowed people to sign up. And then we had a few other options, but those were the bulk. So let me show you a few examples of the website footers that we saw. So these are just 3 of the brands that we looked at, and just showing you some of the layouts of those email signups that we saw in the footers. So the issue with an email footer is, with the exception of the third example on your screen there, you can see that there isn't a lot of space for us to encourage the sign up. It's sign up for our latest offers. What I do like is this one: make your inbox happy by joining our exclusive newsletter. I love that. But the third one does go a little bit further, and that's brilliant. So if you're going to use that footer area, how can you expand it out a little bit? And we're going to talk about this a little bit later as well. The wording that you use and how you set the scene is so important for a variety of reasons. But I want to see people bringing their email opt-in out of the footer. It really did surprise me that the majority had that. And actually, when we looked at that data, we saw that most people only had their email opt-in in the email footer. And we have to think about how we fight for that real estate.